Shalom, everyone, and thank you so much for your patience and for joining us tonight for the Evangelist Corner. And we're always excited for these gatherings. And I apologize again for the challenge we had over the weekend. We do like to have these on Yom Rishon, Yom Ahad, but sometimes we do have complications, and we just had some even coming on the air tonight. So thank you for your patience and your grace. We do deal with these challenges in stride, and we try to be as flexible as we can be, especially as we're dealing with various people, and everybody's got different schedules and different things going on. In this case, this last week was nobody else's fault but this guy. That's right. You know what? I sat down, went to sleep, didn't realize I fell asleep. That's the nature of falling asleep. You fall asleep. And when I woke up, it was way too late. Called poor David, and I said, "Oh my goodness, brother, I did it again. I apologize. I'd been burning the candle at both ends, and so my body finally just gave out and said, "That's it. You're not going any further, buddy." And so we had no choice but to reschedule for tonight. And we're so thankful that you all decided to join us. And of course, joining us tonight is my beloved brother, my primo hermano, David Colon. Thank you so much for joining us, brother.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate
Always a pleasure. And we finally got the whole headphone thing figured out and the whole,
it.
it's
So
always
that's the first
something,
time
right?
that's happened. Yeah, it's the first time that's happened.
It always seems like it's the first time of something, isn't it? It just seems
Right.
like we're always battling this whole technological thing.
Yes. Yes.
Never
Yes.
seems to end, does it, David?
No, it doesn't.
No.
Technology.
No.
I don't
It's
know.
been going for 6,000 years, folks. They're digging up stuff that's so old that's clearly been there a while. And so that tells us that we've been through this before, haven't we, David?
Oh,
This is not
absolutely.
a new thing. What does the scripture say? There's nothing
Nothing new
new.
under the nothing new.
Right. Exactly.
He meant that.
He did. He meant that. That's exactly right. We sort of see the recycling of the same nonsense, don't we, David?
Oh, pretty
And we
much. I
talk
mean,
about
it's
this all the time.
yeah. It's on a continuous loop at times.
Yeah, it sure
You
seems
know,
like that, doesn't it? Seems like we
it sure
see a lot
does.
of the same repeat bondages. And one of the things that you and I talk about a lot, again, we're part of the Grandpa Brigade. We're getting up there. We're starting to look back and say, how could we have helped better? What
Right.
could we have done to really be more of a berakah to our brethren?
Hmm.
And we talk about 800-pound gorillas in the room, don't we, brother?
All the time.
Yeah,
All the
yeah,
time.
yeah. In
Yes.
fact, that's one of the things that we want to talk about tonight is the things that are enslaving men
Yes.
and causing so much devastation. Brother, the breakdown of the family didn't just affect the family, did it?
Oh no. Oh no. That it is probably one of the major reasons why we find ourselves in the position that we have found ourselves up until this point, but that's about to change.
We got some pretty unhappy women that I can see based on the social media content and
Hmm.
the various things that are popular out there, and the
Hmm.
kind of um, counseling and the kind of therapy that is now becoming popular. So I think you can gauge a lot by the kind of therapy that is becoming popular. So if you're thinking the way that I think and the way that I would evaluate, that would be one major indicator of what the nation is
Yes.
going through is where the therapeutics are being applied. Right? Does that
Hmm.
make sense to everybody out there? And then you can look at the same thing for men, where the therapeutics being applied. And David, we're seeing some horrible, horrible devastations of the disintegration of the family unit, aren't we?
Absolutely, it's one of the major breakdowns, especially it's not to say that it's not for women, but definitely for men. It is the level of disrespect,
Mm.
and I'm going to feed you my opinion whether you like it or not. That type of stuff is so damaging because it's not done in the ruach. It's not done with
Hmm.
love.
Yeah, that's not
truth.
a model, is it? That's really just not the where the barakah, where the blessing, right,
That's
is
right. That's right.
abide. So we got tricked. I think we can all pretty safely say, without really getting into a lot of debate, no matter what side of churchianity you come at this from, whatever
Mhm,
direction you are a believer in the Most High, I think
mhm.
we can all agree that, wow, did we get suckered into
Yes.
some thinking processes, into allowing things into our families, into our homes, into our lives that have turned out to be like a Trojan horse, haven't they, David?
Uh, it's a pure contamination of our ruachs. It
Mm.
is a pure contamination, starting with the p word. Right off the
The P
bat,
word. Oh, well,
the
let's
p
start with
word.
the P word. What are we scared of saying there? What's the P word? Let me hear this word.
Pornography.
Oh, pornography.
Pornography.
The 800-pound gorilla in the room.
Absolutely the number
Pornography.
one.
Mhm.
Yes.
The thing nobody
Yes.
wants to talk about. And you realize
Yes.
that the reason why we come at this topic, my friends, with such ferocity is because of the number of victims.
Oh, what was it? 90%?
It's a ridiculous
90%?
number. The
90%
fact of
of
the
all
matter
men?
of men, and now the number of women
Yes.
that are involved in either in the production of or in the consumption of pornography has
Absolutely.
gotten to the numbers that it was for men when I came into the ministry 30 years ago.
Hmm.
So clearly what we're doing is going the wrong way. And
Absolutely.
clearly and I mean this in love, right? We mean this with tender love toward everybody
Yes.
who's affected by these things that come in our society. But we say this with all love and respect. Everybody is being affected by these things. Whether you are personally affected or not, you're affected by those around you who are affected by it.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
it's like the guy who says I'm not a drunk driver. Yeah, but if you're driving home on a Friday night, you might be driving home with a whole bunch of them.
Right.
And so that
Right.
means you might still be affected by them, right? And so in the same way, you might
Absolutely.
say I'm in the 10% that doesn't have that issue.
Hmm.
I'm the small percentage that doesn't affect. But what
Hmm.
about all your friends and associates? Goodness, David, this has become beyond epidemic level, hasn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. You're breaking a simple commandment. That's right there in the New Testament. It says, if you even look at a woman and lust after her, you've already committed adultery in your heart.
That's right. It speaks
So
adultery because you can't be looking at, especially a married woman. That's really what it's really pointing at. Now, if you look at a woman
yes,
that is not married and you would like to marry a woman, it's
that's
appropriate for you
different.
to look at her and say,
Sure,
"Wow, what a honey! Ooh, boy, oh boy, you get my motor going." Right? That's normal.
normal.
And so that's not adultery. Obviously,
No.
if you had done something inappropriate, it would be called something else. So he's saying that specifically about looking at especially those that which belongs to another man, because remember he
Yes.
specifically says in the 10th commandment not to covet that which belongs to another man. So we
It's
tie
true.
those connections correctly, and the word adultery helps us out there. But here what we're really seeing is that it's almost like a spirit of fornication has been weaponized. So this is different than adultery, although it can be. A married couple can say, uh, you know, we have a problem with this or what have you, which we'll address here in a moment. But I'm just dealing with the single
Right.
individual here. There's the single
Right.
man or the single woman. And essentially what they're doing is they're being tricked into a heir of Balaam, aren't they, David? It's just the same thing as heir of Balaam.
Absolutely. 100%. I mean, how can you come to any other conclusion?
Now, the fact is, and many people don't even know this. And so, for a matter of just a little bit of historical review, the heir of Balaam, which is talked about in the book of Jude and discussed in the book of Revelation, is an ancient occurrence where a prophet who did know the name of Yahuwah, by the way, but
Yes.
was a little after the mullah. He wanted the good stuff, right?
Mm.
And so he got
Wow.
offered some mullah, if he would be so kind as to curse the people of Yahuwah, because that's what leaders do. They curse the people and control them, right? That's
Hmm.
what government meant is all about. And so basically that was what happened. And of course, Yahuwah intervened and blessed Jacob anyway. So it didn't work. However, later on we find out that he trained Balak on how to get Israel to curse themselves.
Yes.
And the way that he did it, guys, is he pranced out all the beautiful Midianite women. Isn't that right, David? Isn't that how they did it?
Absolutely. Isn't that what they're doing on TV and magazines? And I mean, it's all in your face all the time.
Now, what is that doing? That's destroying the image of what a woman is meant to be, right? So a woman is a queen. You have to think of a woman as a queen. You have to. You have no choice. If you are royalty, then she is royalty too. You cannot be royalty without making her royalty. Sorry, pal. That's the way that works. Now, when she came to Adam, she was naked. So her form was meant to excite, to empower, to get him moving. After all, he said it's not good for him to be alone. So something that was not good was made good by her presence. Let me say that again, because I don't think you caught that in the back of the internet. He said it is not good for that man to be alone. So something that was not good was made good by the presence of hoo-ha, the scent of a woman. Oh, come on, man. Who doesn't understand the scent of a woman? All right. I mean, she came in and pow, she changed the whole atmosphere, man. They had their hands on the dials from day one.
Yes.
Okay. From day one. And if you mess with that, you don't understand what power you're dealing with. This is the power meant to match Adam, the one who named all the animals, the ruler of earth. And she was his queen.
Yes.
Now, do you get the picture? Now, do you understand what was going on? There was sacred fire. I said it was sacred fire. Hallelujah.
That's right.
Okay. And so what happened? We got perverted. We end up sinning. What happens? Got to put clothes on. Why do you got to put clothes on? Well, the sacred fire is now going to get covered up. Everything's changed. You guys blew the whole program. Okay. Okay. So now you're walking out of Eden, and you go into the world, and what do? What do they turn the world into? Fornication land.
Yes.
Okay. Bastards everywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
The only one that had been preserved in his generations, Noah. What does that say? It says the rest of them were cursed with 10-generation curses for being bastards. Born out of wedlock, not respecting sacred fire, not respecting the sacred covenant, not respecting woman as the queen and man as the king, but instead destroying the entire picture. And where do we end up? Well, we end up with a flood, don't we, David? That's a picture. Isn't that something to think about?
Yeah. And he's gonna come back and make it right again.
That's right.
But unfortunately, not everybody is in the boat.
They're not on board. And then we see the same thing again with Sodom and Gomorrah, don't we? Because again, they're perverting what again? Sacred fire, same thing, same issue. We know that Abraham understood this. He had a woman so fine at 75 years old, he had to still guard her. Think about that for a second. Do you guys ever think about that?
Yeah.
Man, Sarah was fine.
Yeah.
Come on, man. You're 75 years old. 75? And you still got people like, wow. Mama Sarah was knocking them back, man.
See?
Mama Sarah was like, oh, wow, look at that, right? Okay.
The power of a queen. Yes.
Come on, man. And that has something to do with love as well, and atmosphere and a lot of other things. But I will tell you this. Abraham understood fire.
That's right.
Isaac had Rebekah. Isaac understood fire. Yaakov worked 20 years for Rachel. Yaakov understood fire. Okay.
Right.
He understood fire. He understood things that were ancient, guys. Okay.
Yes.
And a lot of times what the women don't understand is that when it says that the elder women teach the younger women, it wasn't how to knead dough or how to wash clothes. They knew that by 15, 16 years old, folks. They were experts by 16. Experts.
Yeah.
I mean, they knew how to do every chore in the house by 16 years old.
Sure.
Believe that. Believe that.
Believe
Okay,
that.
believe that. You better believe that. In a Hebrew house, oh, you best to believe that. Okay. By 16, forget it. There wasn't a chore mama needed to do that she didn't teach her daughter to do. Okay. Telling you
Exactly.
right
Exactly.
now. All right. So,
Exactly.
so what is she learning from these elder women? Tell
How
me
to
something,
take care
David.
of her
What did they
man.
learn? Come on now.
How to take care of their man
Mm.
and to
Because what will
nurture
happen
them.
if you don't? What would happen if you don't? You got
Their
this, what we're
eyes will
looking at
start
here.
wandering. Yes, sir.
They're looking for fire.
Yes.
I said they're looking for fire, aren't they, David?
Yes. Yes. And
You
they
see, what
think
they're
that they're
being
finding
offered
it.
is I was going to
Go
say, what they're being offered, and
right.
this is the thing that we talk about a lot, is they're
Yep.
being offered a simulation of fire,
Yes.
which
Yes.
gives them a simulation of intimacy and a simulation, watch this now, of
Come on.
purpose, which gives them a simulation of exhilaration, which gives
Mm,
them a simulation of accomplishment, which gives them a simulation of why they should rest. When hunger
absolutely.
is meant to make you work. Come
Hmm.
on, somebody. I said
Come
hunger
on.
is meant to make you work.
That is correct.
So, what have they
That is
done?
correct.
They have caused an implosion into the mind of the victims who don't even understand the level to which their fire is being removed from them.
Yes. Yes. And along with that comes power
That's right.
and intimacy and sacredness. All those things.
You can't get away from this topic when you start talking about a virgin, for example. I know I'm talking about something off topic to a degree, but we're going to come back here because the virginity issue, the issue of having clean, pure, kadosh, isn't that what salvation is about? Aren't we getting in the water, David? Because
Yes.
we want to return to a place where we are clean of sin.
Yes.
Yet we come into this world in this particular area. If we do it right, we can go into a marriage without having contamination in this area. But
That's
this is
correct.
becoming ridiculously rare, isn't it, David?
Absolutely. And once you break the initial trust
Mm.
by fornicating and sleeping before marriage, before you say your vows, you say you've already violated that trust.
You did. You
You don't
didn't create
even
a
realize
sacred place.
you did
You had
not.
fire without a fireplace. You needed the
Yes.
sacred place, which is covenant based.
Yes.
Understand this, folks, because this is why we have to
Yes.
do so much work out there.
Mhm.
And because of the sacred place was destroyed, the fire that was put in there did not do what Yahuwah intended. So it actually destroys, doesn't it, David? It does not
Yes.
build,
Yes.
it destroys because the
Absolutely.
covenant is the key. Not the
It's
attraction, not the love between two people. Oh, I love you. Okay, that's great. You burn toward your virgin. That's great. But a
mhm.
covenant provides the container where that fire can abide
So that fire stays
in its
where it needs to stay.
fireplace. That's
Yes.
right. And this is one of the secrets of the Asherah worship of the
Mm.
enemies, because most of their deities, David, seem to be sex oriented, don't they? They seem to be about fertility and reproduction, and their emphasis seems to always be about a perversion of
Yes.
sexuality. Isn't
Yes.
that an interesting correlation, David?
Starting right at the most important thing
Mm-hmm.
in a relationship,
That's
you're
right.
already destroying that.
That's right. And how many people do we encounter when we're trying to minister the gospel to them who are so caught by this particular cycle,
Yes.
that this particular sin set, this is why I'm taking the time for this today, very carefully walking this out. Because among men, this has to be one of the most significant prohibitors of them coming into their gift and discovering their purpose and walking in their calling.
Yes.
This little trickaroo, which has then tied itself through strongholds and through repetition, has tied itself to their mental state in such a way that is preventing them, actively preventing them from entering into the kadosh things Yahuwah wants them to walk in, but for shame in their hearts, they cannot.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Man, once that's compromised, especially in a man, once that is compromised, you first of all, you can't build the foundation
No, you can't.
without a foundation. I mean,
Gotta know that's deep,
you
but stay with us.
build a house. You can't build a house without the foundations. Once that
That's right.
foundation is cracked,
Yes.
then it becomes porous.
Now, what happens if you are born out of wedlock and you say, "Oh no, am I cursed?" Well, no, Yahuwah reverses the curse. All right.
Yes.
So he's the only one that can change your bloodline. All right.
That's good.
He's the only one that can cause you to translate out of the kingdom of darkness into the kingdom of his dear son, to where your bloodline doesn't matter. But until that moment occurs, when you fully translated, well, then you will be affected by that bloodline curse, wouldn't you be, David?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We go through all kinds of mental gymnastics on breaking those curses, but it could be a 10-generation curse, could be a 4-generation curse. We don't know. All we know is we're broken, and
we know that the blood of the lamb makes you a different creature. That's what we know. And that whatever creature was there has now died. The reason why the curse stops working, listen carefully, my brethren, and this is a critical point of evangelism, because the good news is you can end the curse when you end your life. Now, it'll either kill you or it'll kill you. Take your pick. Do, 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 do. Would you like to die or die? Do, 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 do. Okay, your time is up. Which have you chosen? Because the curse is either going to take you to death or you're going to have to die to break it.
Or die to the flesh.
You're going to have, listen carefully, guys. I'm being very clear. You're either going to take into death. The curse will take you to death. All right. Or you have to die to break it. Paul said, I die daily.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Everybody's like, oh, yeah, nodding their heads. All of a sudden, they're nodding their heads. All the Christians are nodding their heads. All of a sudden, Christians are going, yeah, you're right. I die daily. That's right. Okay. I take up my cross daily. Okay. Crucified. Okay, I'm crucified. Oh, yeah, Galatians. That's right. I forgot about the Galatians. I got to be crucified with him. Yeah. Right. So in order for you to break the curse, you've got to drop it all. In all your life has to end. This is the message of evangelism, though, isn't it, David? It's the good news that the curse can end as soon as your old life ends.
That's right.
As soon as you let go of that old life, isn't that right? As soon as you say, I'm done with that old life. Isn't that right, David?
Well, that's the purpose of getting in the water, number one. And I'm starting to find that this is not just a one and done. It's just not a one and off. Okay, because we live in a very contaminated world.
Come on,
full. We're bombarded with it every single day. So why shouldn't we periodically, as the Ruach leads, of course, be cleansed? That outward confession, I'm tired of this. Tired of it.
I think it marks such a beautiful moment. I think it's like going to court. So I look at it like that. To me, getting in the water is like going to court. Yes. Because your first entry was coming into your citizenship. So you stood up and you raised your hand and you became a citizen of the kingdom, right? And you did it in the court. Remember, when you went through immigration, you remember that. You remember that, everybody. Come on now, you remember that. You came in the kingdom and you pledged your allegiance to the king, right? Remember that? Okay. But then sometimes there's other matters that come up, don't they? There's other things, don't they, David? And we got to get back in that water because he is Alu Hayam. He is Alu Hayam. So we got to get back to the water, right? If you're not born of water and of spirit,
Yes.
right? Isn't that what he said? You're born of water and of spirit. So the curse is a reality in our earth, isn't it, David?
Ooh,
That's not something we can ignore and
wow.
pretend it away, is it, David?
No, 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 no. I believe that's why a lot of people are so stuck.
That's my point, is that if you're trying to do evangelism, okay, and you're trying to get people saved, but you don't notice because, well, the 800-pound gorilla is in the room
Yes.
and nobody wants to mention what the problem might be. But 9
Mm,
out of 10 times, you could just guess.
yes.
Ouch.
And you'd be right 90% of the time.
Damn, 90% of the time, you'd be right.
That's
Ouch.
correct.
And half of women, you'd be right.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. But guess what you now know? I said, guess what
Mm,
you now know. You know exactly what devil you're dealing with.
absolutely.
These demons are perversions. They are not. Here's the trick. You guys ready for this? It's not sexual. It's not sexual.
Okay.
The whole trick is a stronghold trick. It's a mental trick. After all, Mashiach said, if you look at a woman, is your screen a woman? No. Is the
Mm,
magazine a woman? No. Is the piece of paper a woman? No. What is it? It's an idol
that's correct.
masquerading as a woman. It's idolatry, receiving worship
Mm,
as if it were a woman. Now, let me ask you a question, because this is a really good one. And Mitty and I, we're the incubators of a lot of this stuff. So I have great conversations. I have the best wife on earth, I think. Sorry, guys. I grabbed her, and she's mine. We have the greatest talks, man. And so, what's the difference? And this is a philosophical question, but I say this lovingly. What's the difference between a guy having, a pic of his girl, man, his wife, and she's, bathing suit beauty pic that he picked that he just thinks is really attractive and he likes it and he's like, that's my screensaver, man. That's my wife, man. That's my babe. That's her. That's the one, right?
mhm.
Um, and he looks at it and he even gets aroused a little when he looks at it, right? Because she's adorable to her, to him, she's beautiful. Is that pornography, David? Is my question. Is that pornography?
No,
Why
that
not, David? That's a great
be-
question, isn't it, though? First of all,
it
isn't
is.
that a great question? Come on,
It
you
made
got
me
to admit it.
pause. It
That
made
was
me
a good
pause.
question. Come on, man. All right. All right, David, we're in
It
it
made me
now.
pause.
Talk to
It
me.
made me
Talk to me.
pause.
Why not?
Yes,
Why is it
because
not?
well, as long as we're talking about a single man,
No, we're
okay,
talking
who's
about no. Now, in this case, we switched to a married man. Now, he's
oh,
looking
okay,
at a picture of his. I switched just to give you a correlation. So you
oh,
got
okay,
a married man, and he's looking at his
okay.
wife, and
Oh
he has
no,
happened to
nothing wrong
have a
with it.
picture of her that's very attractive. She was at the beach one day, right, or whatever.
Hmm. Hmm.
Just pick whatever. Guys, listen, I'm going to stay G-rated, but you can pick whatever you want. All right, and
Right,
and it's his wife. This is the key. The key is it's his wife. Is it pornography? That's my
no,
question.
it
Why
is
not?
not.
Why not?
Because that first of all, that's his
Mm-hmm.
to gaze at and to
Mm-hmm.
adore and
Mm-hmm.
to you know that's his. They're married.
Okay. There you go. Now let me ask you another question. So he flips to a magazine and says he's just looking at chicks, just any chicks, okay, any girls, just any old girls, and he grabs one and he puts that up on his screensaver.
Yeah.
Is that pornography?
Yes.
Same kind of scenario, sexual suggestion, maybe even partially naked. Would you consider that to be? You're looking at, so who is that? And he's like, oh, there's some chick I found online, right? And now,
Hmm.
what would you say? Yeah, my sister Tammy, she's right with me. She's like, that's porn,
Absolutely.
right? That's
Absolutely.
porn.
Absolutely.
Okay, so
Yes.
I just identified something that you guys never thought about probably until this moment. Okay,
Hmm.
that image took a wife's place
Yes.
because that place belongs to a wife.
Yes. That's correct.
That's right. Who sends pictures to her husband? Yes. Who knows her husband, and she knows. She says, "You better get that work done, and I got some special stuff for you when you get home, Mister, because you're my guy, right? And you guys can add in whatever you want. So don't
Yes.
make this
Yes.
other than G-rated tonight, okay? But my point is, it's because of the covenant.
Yes. Yes.
The covenant relationship is what turned that photograph's context.
Yes.
It made it from a context of something seedy and disgusting and rude and objectifying and disrespectful, and frankly makes a brother or a father want to punch somebody. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it shifted it. How did it shift it?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's her husband.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's her husband, then that's a different thing.
Yeah.
Why?
Absolutely.
That
Absolutely.
same photograph being
Mm-hmm.
held in the hand of a man who is in covenant with the woman he is staring at the picture of
Yes.
is a dramatically different thing
Yes.
than staring at the photograph of somebody else's wife.
Yes. Yes. They would call that strange fire.
Come on, somebody help me preach this thing.
Mm-hmm.
They would call that strange fire.
That's correct.
Okay? Because you're supposed to be receiving specialized ministry from your wife.
That's correct.
And she's supposed to be receiving specialized ministry from her husband. And this is not even remotely sexual. This is about emotional attachment and intimacy and honesty and sacredness and maintaining the boundaries of that sacredness in such a way that both feel secure.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So that if a man is attracted to some other thing, he doesn't just look at it. He says, "Hey, honey, look at her. What a butt on that one." And you laugh, but that's a form of intimacy between certain couples. Certain couples look at people together, and then they stay close together while they look at others. Hey, look at her. Oh, she's beautiful. And it doesn't divide them.
Sure.
Because they do it together.
Right.
And they experience it together. And maybe they look at each other and go, "My goodness, did you see that?" And then the husband looks at the wife. You ever see this? It's hilarious if you ever see it. And they see somebody walk by with inappropriate clothing on, and the husband looks at her and goes, and then he looks at his wife and goes, right? In that moment, those two are actually more connected. The husband and the wife are connected because they're looking at the same thing, kind of reacting to it. See, that's different than the guy oogling it off to the side.
That's correct.
Right? Coveting it.
Behind her back. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
See, you notice these subtleties, right? You know, these little differences. They make a difference, don't they, David?
Absolutely.
They make a difference in results.
Absolutely.
Right? And so this is a stronghold that has now gone out in multiplication. There's no way you're going to deal with evangelism without dealing with the stronghold of sexual bondage, the pornographic bondages, the witchcraft that accompanies this, because these are succubus or incubus robots. They're bots.
Yes.
They're not even real. So they're not spirits, guys. Let me help you guys out with some things here. First of all, technically, they're not actually spirits. They're just bots. However, you, the victim, the person who's activating them, you are the one that calls the spirits.
Yes.
So it isn't that the porn has spirits in it itself. It's that the user is essentially calling it. Okay. Yeah. So they're drawing it. Their attraction is drawing. So all those are just windows to see which one you're going to pop your head in and start drawing. They don't care which one it is. All right. And so this is where that bondage really multiplied with the use of digital images. And of course, print was a big issue. We had that first, Playboy and Penthouse and all that. But they only got numbers up to around 30-40% using Playboy and Penthouse. So just consider this, guys. By 2000, from 1980 to 2000, that's 20 years, right? We had Playboy, Penthouse, Hustler, whatever one. What are the other ones we grew up with that were all over the place? But you guys know the ones that they were bad. Some of them were worse than that, right? Okay. And they had to put them in the plastic bags. Remember that? You couldn't walk by. They'd have them in I still remember to this day. That was back in the day before there was the internet, right? So what did they get it to? With using that method, they got slavery levels up around 30, 40%, maybe upwards of 50%. But that was it. They maxed out because it wasn't quite as effective and it was harder to process. When they went digital, whoo, man, David, they doubled those numbers.
Oh, man. You can't visit any site now without partial exposure or worse.
They normalized it, didn't they, David?
It's just part of the deal to them.
And unfortunately, just like in the garden, they weaponized women. They essentially took women and they used them as agents of this weaponization without realizing. I mean, think about OnlyFans as an example. How many men that you're trying to minister the gospel to, right? You're trying to minister salvation to, are secretly, without telling you, because they can't admit it to you. Okay, they can't say this to you because how are they going to tell you this, David? While they're standing in front of you, they're struggling, going, I'm really got to run home because I'm going to have a date tonight with my OnlyFans chick or some webcam girl.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. And they've got themselves actually believing it's actually some kind of relationship.
Well, that's partially true. The relationship's up here.
It is. But David, my point is that how many people that we are wondering why they're not receiving the gospel, why they're not coming into the kingdom, are being held captive by this one particular type of stronghold.
Yes.
That's the question, and that's the reason why we've got to have the courage. Somebody's got to have the courage, David.
That's right. Gonna have to say it quiet part out loud.
The A crowd hasn't shown up yet. We're still waiting. Parking lot's empty. We're waiting for the A crowd to show up and tell us exactly how to do it right. Okay? And here's reality, folks. The methods have been extensive. We have seen geofencing. We have people fenced in. They can't use the internet. You can't type in certain words. They tried that. You can't see certain sites. They tried that. Parental filters. Remember that? We tried that.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's still being tried, and obviously epic failure, right? So apparently trying to just confine people, just saying we're just going to put you in a box.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't work. That wasn't the solution. It actually made it worse.
No. Yes, that's correct. Yes.
We are now disintegrating to the point where violence is at all-time highs now.
Absolutely. And getting worse by the day.
Mm-hmm. And who's the biggest victims? Women, and younger the worse, but the women, because the insatiable desire is there, but the proper channels for execution, the proper channels for walking that out, the proper way to engage in relationships seems to be all but gone, David. I mean, back when we grew up, at least pastors would try premarital counseling, and there was some effort with youth groups, and I remember a lot of youth groups doing a lot of work, young warriors, all kinds of different groups, trying to help young people not go down the wrong road, right? There was a lot of, I remember that in the 90s and early 2000s. I remember that being a big deal. And then I took my sabbatical, and when I came back, I noticed that was not as big a deal anymore. And that people didn't care so much about, youth ministry was sort of like, we just do it. Mm-hmm. But what happened, David? What happened culturally, do you think, that shifted this whole thing? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, obviously it's spiritual first and foremost, but, it was the normalizing of the methods that people just became addicted. Right? It was a stronghold in their minds. And to try to arrest that now, if
it's not an easy task, is it? You got to
No.
send in a quite a treatment. Well, I think a DX is in fact what is coming. A
Yes.
DX is in fact a solution. Um,
Yes.
and I do think that we need to keep coming up with solutions. I think that I will hopefully, my thoughts on this and what Yahuwah is leading me into will help men start to turn some of that around, because I don't believe it's sexual at all. I have a very strong theory that I believe Yahuwah is feeding to help me deal with how to rescue my brethren. And that's why I'm bringing this up tonight about evangelism, because this is really what it's about. It's about getting them out of the kingdom of darkness, which is right
Yes.
where they are.
Yes.
And again, not sexual. They're using sexuality to draw, but what they're really doing is enticing men to become unclean and abandon their purpose. In fact, the
Yes.
longer they stay in the cycle, the more difficult it's going to be for them to break it and recover back to purpose. So the older they get, the harder it is to get them back out. So you got to catch it as early as you can. So
Right.
that informs on why we do what we do, because we know there's our brethren that we will not be able to reach if we wait too long. Isn't that right,
Yes.
David?
That's correct. That's correct. That's part of the reason. That's part of the motivation for me personally, because I am an older person.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that the mikvahs are going to be like clockwork,
Mm-hmm.
because I
Mm.
my flesh may have a different perspective on this, but my ruach says no. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sick of this. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sick of
Mm-hmm.
being contaminated. I'm sick of being compromised.
That's right.
I'm sick of it.
Well, you can't let them use what you were given by Yahuwah against you. And this is a part of the ignorance, because without
Right.
knowledge, people perish. And so you don't understand the dynamics between, say, for example, a woman and a man. And we all say, oh, you got to have the discussion of the birds and the bees. And it's like, I don't think people had the discussion very well. I don't think they understand it. I think that it's something that was lost. And the pagan religions tried to weaponize sexuality and trying to weaponize these topics, if you will, for their own purposes, which we see today. They basically use sexuality to sell pretty much everything. I mean, it doesn't matter what it
And
is; they just
yeah,
sell anything to you with a
yeah,
pretty girl. I mean,
yes.
which is implying everybody knows what it's in. Like nobody's fooled by the tactic. We all know what they're doing, right, David? I
Hmm.
mean,
Hmm.
we're not
Hmm.
fooled by this, are we?
Oh no, no, oh no, no, no.
We've been seeing this forever.
Yeah, we've been sucking wind for a minute.
That's right. So they're using the same tactics. They use it because it works, by the way. Um, and a woman is not, can I just say this? Because some of my sisters are very beautiful. And men have made you feel like you are the problem. All right? Like you are the problem. And I rebuke that. And you are not the problem. They are the
Yes,
problem.
yes,
Society is the problem. But you, my beautiful sister,
right,
who happens to be comely, who happens to be beautiful, who happens to be attractive, you are not the problem.
right.
Okay? The reason
That's
why
correct.
covenant is so important is because someone must protect your honor.
That's
All right?
correct.
And it is a part of manhood that it pulls on the noble side of us, the good side of us, the
Come
kind
on.
of part of us that makes us slay dragons and chase giants. All
Yes,
right? The noble side of us that makes us
yes.
princes,
Come
makes us
on.
knights, makes us good men. Okay?
That's right.
Makes us seek to do noble things. That comes from woman.
Yes.
Why does a man climb the mountain or slay the dragon? To get the woman, to get the,
Right,
the damsel, right? To
right,
win the
right, right.
hand of the maiden and all that. But
Yes,
there's
yes.
something very true about this. There's something
Hmm.
very true. And there's also something very sad about a man who's abandoned that for a cheap
Yes.
thrill.
Yeah,
A man
yeah.
who's abandoned his purpose and squandered his cleanness as a man,
Yes.
being tricked by a succubus spirit into compromising in an area that is meant to make fire, kadosh fire.
Yes. That's right.
Amen.
That's right. That's right.
And that does reduce him in his own mind, doesn't it, David? It makes a man less, he thinks less of himself at that point. He maybe doesn't even feel worthy of salvation, David.
Bingo. Bingo. That and not being loved by their father, or being
Mhm.
ignored by their mother, or absentee
Mhm.
parentism, whatever it is. Whatever
And
it
heaven
is.
forbid that a woman find that he was using this method, as reprehensible as it is,
Yeah.
as some type of patch.
Yes.
And oh man, is he ever going to get it, huh, David?
Not gonna be pretty.
It's not
We
going to be
already
pretty. So you had one group of women setting him up and another group of women shooting him down.
yes, yes, yes,
Right? Isn't that right?
yes,
Took the pretty girls, use them to suck you in, and then they
yes,
take and then you get married or you get in a relationship and they beat you up, and he feels like he's in
yes.
a ping pong match and he's the ball.
Right. Well,
He's like,
you
I
know,
can't compete with this.
but one thing we need to remember is, and I know you know this, but I'm just going to say it again. We wrestle not against flesh and blood,
That's right.
but against principalities and
That's right.
powers
That's right.
and the
Somebody had to
rulers of the
release this stuff.
darkness.
Come on, man.
Yes. Come
Somebody
on.
had to say, no more HBO. We remember you when we were young. We had to watch HBO to get the R-rated stuff. Not anymore.
Yeah. No.
They said, nah, skip it.
No.
Just put it right on regular channels.
Yeah.
Okay, we used to
Yeah.
have to go. Used to have to jump over hoops to get to this content. Not anymore.
Yeah. Now they're using streaming. They're using Netflix. The whole nine. And it's
So
all
what's
just.
really happening? What's really happening? It's not sexual. And the more you guys get this,
Yes.
the more you're going to understand it's about witchcraft.
Yes.
All right, it's about control. It's about putting you under the era of Balaam, because Balaam's curse puts you makes you a subjugated people. A subjugated people do not have choice. They don't have freedom.
Yes.
You understand? You are not free. Ask a man who's addicted to pornography if he wants to go out that night, and he's going to have to think twice about it. He's going to have to decide whether or not he's going to willing to part with his habit to go hang out with you, because there's no sexual benefit to hanging out with you. And so he's now addicted to this whole process and this whole cycle that he's in. And this whole time you thought it was you or the place you were inviting him or some other thing. And it has nothing to do with you.
No. No.
It's a cycle that he's in that needs to be broken.
Yes. Yes.
Okay?
He's trying to plug the holes with the wrong thing.
There it is right there. Because the unique element, what made him flip to that channel or to that particular gal? What was it about that blonde or brunette or redhead or whatever that made him go, ooh, la, 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 right? It's a part of us that is naturally there, that Yahuwah put there for a reason. And it's being perverted, isn't it, David? It's being used like a fisherman, and they're fishing for men. This is what's getting me, guys. This is why I'm on this. Because they're okay. And my brother Scott's on here, so he can tell you all about lures and fishermen. And David's another excellent fisherman. So between the two of them, forget it. I'm not gonna go hungry with lack of fish. Let me tell you. And if you throw Heidi in there, I think Heidi just smiles.
Forget about it.
She's so pretty that I think they all just jump on the. She's such a doll. I don't know what's going on. She just fishes. The fish jump on her line. The poor Scott never gets beat by anybody except Heidi. She's the only one that beats this guy. This guy's been whooping everybody as long as I've known him, till Heidi comes along, knocks him for a loop, and he doesn't even care because he just loves looking at her. So anyway, what do? We go. And what do? We jiggle that leg, right? And what do they think? It's real. Yeah. They think it's a real fish.
But it's just a lure. Just a piece of plastic.
Just a lure. Huh?
Ooh.
Mary Magdalene was so beautiful that she was used as a woman of the night, huh?
All right.
So when she got saved, when Yahusha cast the devils out of her, she stopped being beautiful right then. She just stopped. She just was no longer beautiful. No more beauty. She had all beauty went away when she got saved. Is that true? No? Oh. No. So what purpose did her beauty then serve?
Yes, to nurture, to encourage, to all those things. It had to be
redeemed. It's not a waste. He uses beauty for a reason. What do you use it for?
Absolutely.
To draw people towards him.
That's correct.
So what's Mary saying? Mary now is preaching the gospel. Mary's pretty face. She got a pretty face. Look at Mary's pretty face. She used to use it for bad stuff. Mary, come
Yeah,
on,
not
you need to
new.
repent.
No.
She repents, gets back up. Now she preaching the gospel. Now what's that pretty face doing? I
Come
said,
on.
now what is that pretty face doing? Yeah. And all of a sudden men are like, ooh, how you doing, sweetie? I'm doing great. Come on over here. I want to talk to you. They don't even know she's about to preach to them.
Come
They
on.
don't even know she's about to lay down the smack down and cast a devil or two out of
Come
them.
on. Come
She
on.
saw that spirit of lust. She saw that spirit of adultery. She saw that spirit of fornication. She said, you come on over here. Let me go ahead and knock that out of you. Yeah, I'm smiling at you. Come on over here. Whoop-ah, right? Why? Because we need to understand how these things work. The devil does. I said the devil does. I said our enemies know. I said the devil understands, and he understands the royalty of women, even though men didn't understand it. He understood that he had to get Eve to get Adam.
Whoop-ah. Come on.
That's right.
Come on.
This whole gospel story is about redeeming a bride.
Yes.
Not a girlfriend.
Yes. Yes.
Come on, somebody.
Why does Mashiach call us the bride?
That's right.
Why
It's
does
a
he use
covenant.
that term?
It's all covenant words. Everything is covenant.
Yes.
Covenant,
Yes.
covenant, covenant, covenant. Because intimacy in covenant is allowed. I'll say it again.
Come on.
Intimacy in covenant is allowed. In fact, encouraged. In fact, celebrated. In fact, that's the consummation of the marriage relationship is the intimacy, not just the physical, but the fact that they've come together and become one, although the physical is part of that, right? But the fact that they are intimate, and what I mean by that is there ain't nobody else on earth that knows my wife's secrets. Those secrets are mine. I feel privileged to know them. I'm honored. I'm now royalty. I am one of 4 billion men who know the secrets, who know the deep, dark, nuances of one person. Why is that important? Because someone's keeping your confidence, and someone is teaching you about covenant, even as Mashiach and the ecclesia. So you're using this, the relationship becomes an example.
Yes. Honor.
And you are called to be an example unto the flock, are you not?
Absolutely.
So what example is being demonstrated when a man has no covenant? He's going years and years and years without any covenant with any woman, makes no commitments whatsoever. And is this a man that any of you can count on and rely on? No, you can't rely on him at all. Why not? Because you don't know 1 minute to the next what he's even devoted to. He's decided that he's going to live his life with no commitments or covenant. He's going to float. I wouldn't follow that man to the bathroom. Amen. But this is considered normal. People without fire, look in their eyes. Don't they look like animals that have been in the zoo too long? Where's the fire? Where's the raw passion of fire that comes only in covenant? What was it that Absalom destroyed when he came into Jerusalem and he entered into the private chamber of King David and destroyed the sanctity of the covenant he had with 10 concubines? Oh my goodness, there's a bunch of people in the West just lost it right there. But David understood fire. And that was completely ruined the minute the covenant was broken. They were still beautiful. They still knew him better than anybody. They still could have said wonderful things to him and could have ministered to him like they had previously, but nope. Once the covenant was broken, the fire was gone.
Yeah, and everybody knew it because they understood covenant.
That's right. And this is why I bring this up, because you cannot possibly tell me that you're going to be effective in evangelism in America, in the United States of America, in the West, without dealing with this infestation.
Yes.
that is at
Yeah.
90%.
Yes.
So there's no possible way that you're going to be equipped to be effective in ministry and cast out this thing if you don't even know it's there, and that it's affecting 9 out of 10 people that you're going to stand in front of in terms of men, okay, and half the women.
Right.
And so once you know that, when you are prepped with that information, when you're it's like going to a country and they say everybody's got malaria, you better want to get a shot. You're going to want to know what you're dealing with. Like, you're going to want to know more about that, right? Maybe not a shot, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You're going to want to know and prepare for that. The same thing with going into an American society. When you're coming into, if you had never been here before, somebody should warn you. I said somebody should warn you.
Yes.
And say it's really easy to go to hell here while you're smiling and having a great time. Because they don't even realize how they have violated his word and how this is creating violence in the world, isn't it, David?
Mm-hmm. Oh, listen, many kings have lost their lives because of that very thing.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly why I bring this up, guys.
Yes.
And I don't mean to be untoward. You know me, I don't like things like that. And I try to be very respectful, and I love my sisters. In fact, I feel quite fired up for the queens.
Yes.
Okay, if I may say that.
Yes.
I'm fired up for the queens. The queens are sometimes thrown in there with the rest of these sullied things. Sometimes they're included in with the sullied group when they are set apart. And they are kadosh, fire for one man. And this is such a beautiful thing to be part of the kingdom. And if we understood this better, how much more would this be an element that contributes to evangelism? Here's my point. If you're inviting a person into the kingdom and the life you're offering them is exactly the same as the life in the world, if what you're sharing with them is that your marriage is going to be the same as flip a coin Worldville over here, if what you're telling them is that nobody's going to instruct a woman on how to conduct herself, and nobody's going to instruct that man on how to construct safe places and safe zones and respect for his woman, if nobody does this stuff, then we're preaching a partial gospel, aren't we?
Absolutely.
Because he said that the husband and the wife is as Mashiach and the ecclesia. So I don't know, David, how you take this subject and you park it. I don't know how you do that. I've been wondering this subject for 30 years. Now that I've done 30 years, I'm going to ask all the questions I wondered over 30 years. How the heck are you going to preach the gospel and you're going to skip porn?
That's right. That's right. And the person preaching better not be compromising, or
that's
ain't gonna
probably
be.
Why.
Absolutely. Can't be compromising with that stuff.
I would say if they're scared to talk about it, they might be compromised. You know what I mean?
Yeah, can't dance with Hasatan and think you're going to have some type of better cop.
You're trying to minister. You're trying to lay. Ooh, that's disgusting.
Yeah,
that's gross, man.
Yeah,
yuck. And you gonna go out there and lay hands on people? You shameless
Come
thing.
on.
You shameless thing.
Woo-wee.
You need to get your face in the dirt. I will pay for the ticket, but you better get your face in the dirt.
And you better get in the water.
Destroys you. And you better get in that water and clean
several
that thing
times.
off. And then what we need to do is we need to change the way that you're processing these things, because the fact is that you can't just say this is bad. You need to say this is correct. Here's correct.
Yes.
Because one of the things that I discovered, and I'm going to say some racy things that you want to change the channel. Okay, get off my channel, all of you. You better run away, all you scaredy cats, because I'm about to say some racy stuff. You better run. Oh, one left. Let's see how many. See how many more leave. Okay, I'm going to say some racy stuff. That woman, if you're married, that woman is for you.
That's right.
Okay, that woman has the keys that unlock you. I don't care how old you are, old, young, doesn't make any difference. Makes no difference. None of that matters, because it's got nothing to do with physical form, folks. It's got to do with connectivity. It's got to do with intimacy. It's got to do with your genuine connection. And that is covenant.
Yes.
Okay, that is covenant. And a man could look at his woman and he could see her, and you may say, man, she's not that good looking, but he sees 30 years of beauty.
That's right.
He sees 30 years of his life. He sees the memories. He sees the things they went through. He sees something way deeper, okay, if you do this right. But if you do it wrong and you focus only on the superficial, what ends up happening? Well, we already saw.
Yeah. We already know.
Mhm.
We already know. We see that every day.
This is why we have to go out there, guys, with sensitivity to people that are in this curse.
Absolutely.
We can't go out there condemning them and
Wagging
telling them all
fingers,
wicked with
right?
wagging fingers, saying, "Oh, you wicked men!
Mm-hmm.
You're all falling victim to something you were born to be attracted to. You're all falling victim to a trick that's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Well, it's a trick. It's meant to trick. So you shouldn't be mad at the victims of the trick. If you want to get mad at somebody, get mad at the ones perpetrating the trick. That I understand. But the victims, the ones that are just lonely, the guy that has forgotten even why he's here, he doesn't even know his purpose nor his reason for existence. If he died tomorrow, nobody but his porn dealer would know. You know,
That's sad.
nobody but his DoorDash guy and his, you know, whatever other services he's got automated, so he has some human contact. And he's now receded into a life that, frankly, is just a shell of a life.
Yeah.
And why? Because you know that purpose, that vision, that cause, the thing that burns in the heart of a man. Well, that needs fire.
Yes.
So you could be clear on your purpose as Adam was. You could be clear on your vision as Adam was. You could be clear on the place you're meant to be as Adam was. You could even be in and under authority as Adam was. And you can even have the intellect to name all the animals as Adam did. But you ain't doing jack diddly pal until you get
That's right.
fire.
Come on. Yes. And quit
You need
compromising. Yes.
That's why we need to partner together. That's why you can't do ministry as just men or just women. That's why women
Mhm.
usurping authority over men, David, isn't that why it ruins it?
Absolutely. That's that whole. Yes.
That's where Jezebel lives. And Jezebel is the one who gave you AI. Let me help you out. Jezebel and her 850 prophets of Baal and prophets of the Grove are prophets of sex and sexuality. This is
Yes.
what they preached. This was their gospel. This was their ministry. And Jezebel, making her massive comeback, wanted to enslave all men. And so she devised a very cunning strategy, utilizing a mimic of the kingdom of Elohim called
Mm.
the internet. And now the spirit of this whore rages through the earth, with her voice crying, she sits a queen and will see no sorrow.
Mm.
But today is a new day, and
Come
the
on.
remnant have awakened. The sons of Zadok have steadied themselves for the war with the sons of darkness. And now what you're seeing is Jezebel being exposed for what she is, a betrayer of men, an
Yes.
enslaver of men, one who leads men to their own destruction. So this is breaking now. Breaking news. The new things are
Bells.
happening. And I just, before I went on the air today, I was interacting. I had to deal with some of my tech team, and I get involved in a lot of tech stuff because I refuse to give them that floor, and I'm not going to let them have the rule. Yahuwah has sent us with a mandate that is to arrest many of these things that are coming against you. We've already caused change. Multiple AIs have now updated because of our activity. They're trying to go around us. They're trying desperately to avoid our subjugation. It will not work. It will fail. Because I am what he sent me to be, the brightness of his coming. And they will rue the day that they pissed off the King of all glory. And he
That's
did
right.
say, his cup is filled with
Come on.
indignation. He is upset. Okay? And we are angry at what they have done to our brothers. We are angry at what they have done to our sisters, parsing our sisters, a queen, out as body parts. Did you really think we would never respond to such a thing? The day is over, and we're coming for it. And I believe that what men need is they need cultivation of their purpose. They need cultivation of their vision. They need cultivation of their ministry. The thing Yahuwah put them here to be royalty for. When a man discovers his purpose, suddenly these sully things of earth no longer attract him. When a man discovers his vision, he no longer is interested in defiling himself. When a man discovers why he's here and for what reason he blocks sun on the earth, suddenly these chains don't come down, don't hold him anymore. This number, this reflection, this 90% that they're bragging about is just reflecting how many don't know yet why they're here. But here's the good news. That can happen in a day. That stronghold can happen in a day. And suddenly the prophecy of Revelation 18, where the voice that was speaking suddenly is silenced in your life. So this voice will be silenced in your life as you become the son of Alua Hayam that you are called to be. Somebody say Yada Yahuwah.
Yada Yahuwah.
Amen. Purpose. It's the only thing great enough, filled with perfect love, the only thing great enough to dislodge these strongholds.
You got my vote.
That's what's being spilled on the ground. That's what they're doing to you. They're getting you to drop your purpose for this cheap thrill, for this weak version of a simulation of actual relationship. Because you don't have a wife that's willing to send you that picture. Because you didn't cultivate that relationship. Because you can't get her to phase 4 intimacy. Nope, you can't get past phase 1 because you're too full of yourself.
Right.
So we're going to have to work on that.
That's right.
How many know that we need some ministry there?
That's right.
Because you can't force a woman, and you can't get this flyer by force. No, this fire comes only by choice.
That's right.
And when you grab a picture from a magazine, tell me again how you asked that woman's permission first.
Whoop. There it is.
Tell me again how you asked her. And quit telling yourself it's okay because she put it out there. That picture was taken by somebody she probably knew in a warm moment, a moment of intimacy, a moment of connection, right? And then you jumped in like a peeping Tom. Now, how disgusting when you really think about it. And the moment you do, you go, oh my goodness. Yeah. And so then you say, man, why are you making me feel bad? You're crushing me here, Peter, man. My goodness, man. I don't know what I'm doing. I know this is hurting, but I don't know. What am I doing? You see, the problem isn't that you have desires. The problem isn't that you have a need. The problem isn't that you need this thing in your life. It's actually revealing that you're actually somewhat normal, actually. It's saying that you have a connecting point. Here's the problem is that's not yours. I said, that's not yours.
That's
you need to get your own box. Come on, somebody. I said, you need to get your own box. Okay, the one that belongs to you that voluntarily decided, I give myself, as my wife said, I love the way she says it. She's so adorable. She says, I offer myself as tribute. She's like the Hunger Games. She's like, doo, 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 doo. I offer myself as tribute. I will sacrifice myself for all sisters, and I will put up this crazy man, so none of you will have to do so. I offer myself as tribute.
Wow.
But she's mine.
How cute.
She belongs only to me, right?
That's right.
Only to me, and only part of my world. And yes, she's a berakah to many men, many people. Everybody loves my wife. She's a beautiful person. Okay, you went to visit my brother Moshe, and you got to meet his family. And boy, oh boy, you commented about how that blessed you, didn't you, brother?
Absolutely. It was a great time. I was treated like a king, like royalty.
Like royalty. Yes.
Yes.
How about that?
Saw a glimpse of that. I'm saying, I like that.
That's right. That's right. And see, we cultivate these things. Either we cultivate a culture of disconnection, which is what pornography does. it creates a culture of disconnection, or we cultivate a culture of connection, of intimacy, of reality, of connecting together. And again, I don't care what it is, together, doing it together. Okay, doing things together, learning that that is what matters, and that that is what the beauty of marriage is really about. Okay, and so I think
That's
that we're
correct.
seeing evangelism has to invade a very critical part here, doesn't it, David? It's got to
Yes,
come
yes.
into a part of the world that isn't generally invited into, is it?
But you know what? It is the critical core issue, and it's going to have to be addressed.
It
Um,
is.
you know,
So
it
I
is.
invite all of
It
our
is.
intercessors out there, and so we shared all this, and you say, "Wow, how do we deal with this? My goodness, that's quite a problem." There's going to be a lot of evangelists out on the street these days as the weather warms up and the ruach is moving among people. My petition, if you will, my request of all of my brothers and especially my sisters out there who you're resonating with me tonight, okay, and you're feeling what I'm saying.
Mhm.
Do me a favor. Do a favor for your brethren. Do what Yahuwah has called us to do and intercede for those that are going out there and pray for the weakening of this particular stronghold.
Yes.
Make this particular stronghold part of your regular repertoire of intercession. And wouldn't you say, David, that if we get a bunch more people praying to break the stronghold of pornography, we might just see revival in America?
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Can't encourage that enough. We've already seen it in our own personal prayer
Mm-hmm.
group. We've already seen people starting to get breakthrough already because of corporate prayer.
That's right. That's right. But you can't run from this thing, can we, David? We can't pretend it
No,
doesn't exist, or be like, oh gosh, that's the P word. The P word.
oh yeah,
That's how the devil
oh yeah.
gets away with this stuff, by the way,
That's
guys.
right. That's right. Got to be bold enough to stand up and speak.
He gets away with it because everybody's like, oh, I don't talk about the P word.
Not here.
Okay, we got to
Not
be
this
bold
guy.
enough to say, hey, this thing is dangerous stuff, and it
Yes, it
hides in the
is.
dark,
Yes.
and it's going to cause
Yes.
the purpose to be released. And this is why a woman is so offended. It's not because she's offended by sexuality. If I can say this on behalf of my sisters, it's the intimacy that they're offended at.
Mm-hmm.
Ask a woman; she'll tell you it's the intimacy, the fact that you shared things, the fact that you were connecting with this. Yeah, that's what's going to offend them. All right, the fact that you were looking this way instead of looking at me that way, right? And little do they know is that it's a two-edged sword. There's two problems here. It's not just the guy; it's also the fact that we've got women that grew up without training, where
That's
the elder
correct
women
too.
didn't teach the younger these things. The importance
Mm-hmm.
of, for example, what you walk around and you consider transportation, women. Can I just say this? Just one thing that I know you all have laughed about. Some of you have even teased saying, I should do this for a living or something, right? Half joking. But do you know that what you walk around with on, you call feet, there's entire sections of the internet dedicated to just taking pictures of that, right? They've isolated down to individual body parts, and that's a biggie, right? And I laugh at women who don't know the impact of their body, which I think is hilarious, right? So they don't even know that they impact man. They were
Right.
made for that.
Right.
And then they wonder what's going on. Goodness, you need
Mm-hmm.
to learn, right? And it might be
Yes.
for one guy, it's that part of the body. The other part of the body, maybe another guy's into, guys. I don't have to tell you. I don't get graphic here, but they
Right.
cut a rib to pieces. Here you go. What do you want? This one? You want this piece? What kind would you like? I mean, I feel like the woman got chopped
Yes.
up. That's how I feel.
Wow. Yeah.
Like she's like it's a meat market, literally. And it's like, what do you want? Thighs? You want legs? What do you want? Like instead of chicken, it's okay. Why? Because men have been reduced down to this assembly line of
Yes.
purpose replacement, of purpose
Mm-hmm.
abandonment, of purpose interchange, if you will. And they had to give you something to keep you from realizing just how bad that really is.
Yeah.
So they went to 4K, extra glossy, super high tech, and oh, in case you're not sure, will send out the digital prostitutes, forming an AI Hookerville out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because they knew what was in man. And so my request is for my sisters out there, right, David? We're asking them to pray.
That's right. That's right. And brothers too that want to pray. Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
really feel like this is a special assignment for our sisters because you're
Okay.
queens. You are the special ones that are, maybe you're one of those special ones that are, and I do believe it's both, but I feel like it's a special anointing for our sisters because they're
Sure.
the object, you know, they're the lure that's being used, you know. So when you're the
Right.
ones interceding, man, you're powerful. Can you see why I would
Ooh-wee.
think that? Because
Sure.
you're the vessel that the devil was trying to use. Maybe especially those of you that are, you know, that have been in the past, maybe the enemy has used you for that, and now you're praying for men. Now you're praying for you're getting in front of the evangelists,
That's
that
right.
men would be convicted of letting themselves be subject to the strange fire and come out into the kadosh. And then
Yes.
they could take a picture of their wife, okay, and look at her instead. How about that? What's wrong with that? When did that become a problem? It isn't. And I hope some of you got an answer. Amen. Stay out of there.
Amen.
Take a
Amen.
fall in love with the one, your Isha, the one he gave you, right? Love her, and your Isha will love you back because, you know, when
Yes.
they're adored, they react to that. Any last words, Dave, before we let folks go? We've hit a pretty heavy subject here tonight.
Absolutely. I mean, I the only it was definitely a heavy subject. But I encourage all my brothers and sisters out there to uh, don't think that yeah. I know it's going to sound a little selfish and strange coming from an evangelist, but I believe that we constantly need to be washed from the filthiness of this world. And so I would encourage you all to get in the water again, because I have a personal testimony about that. I'm not going to share it right this minute, but I'm going to tell you it made a difference. It made a huge difference. Things just fell off that were plaguing me. So I'm just encouraging you to find somebody to rebaptize you, to give you another mikvah. I think there's a spiritual significance to that I really can't put it into words. All I can tell you is that it is real and it is powerful. So that's my encouragement to you guys today. Don't think this is a one and done. Okay? Love
Yeah,
you
I
all.
have to agree. I think that's good counsel. And David, we thank you for taking the time to come
Yes.
visit with us again. And
Thank
let's
you.
try and make sure we don't blow it next weekend. Hopefully, I'll be okay. Excuse me for not really sure whose fault that was. Not me. Couldn't possibly be me. We love you all. Thank you
Yes.
all so much for
Yes.
joining us. We are so grateful for every one of you that continue to share these links, join us for these great conversations, and are part of the Remnant Alliance, the Alliance of Remnant Ministries, and are joining with us. Hopefully, coming up this week, we've got a special conference coming up on the 2nd, the day after Shavuot, and so we certainly encourage you to join us for that. And I just want to thank all of you who continue to pray for us, who stand with us in faith, who encourage this mission of Evangelist Corner. I thank you for that. Some of you really appreciate and know why we're continuing to bring this up. And so hopefully our prayer is that more people will think about evangelism. Well, thank you so much for joining us. May Elohim Baruch each and every one of you. Laila Tov.